This concludes the speech portion of our program. We will now move on to the question and answer session. The first question is from Mr. Lambert. If you become a school board member, you will solemnly swear and affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent on me as a school board member according to the best of your abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire. I've walked through many school doors during my adult life, always to support children in some way, both before my children were born and now to support my children and their classmates, and stand here today to ensure that future generations get an adequate education. As a taxpayer and a responsible citizen of the United States, we stand together, whether we use the service or not, to promote the general welfare and form a more perfect union. As a school board member, how will you accomplish this?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, what's there to say? There's certainly nothing to disagree with there. And as to how I would uphold the Constitution, certainly by following the law, and certainly by just advocating and working to serve the people, serve the students. And certainly one issue that I do take great interest in is history as well as government, and I did review some of the curriculum online, and it looks like that there's certainly a good piece of how state and local government works being taught to the students. And I would continue to look at it. I would listen as a member of the board and consider what's brought before us, and certainly if a person ever felt that their rights were somehow being violated, I would probably be one of many right there to stand up and defend those rights. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your last name. This one is for Barbara.
Eichinger.
Art Eichinger. Sorry. You have often stated that the declining assessments in Guilford are due to increasing property tax rates. What is your proof of this?
Thanks very much for that question, because I just had a nice long email conversation with Michael Keach, who wrote that article in the Laconia Daily Sun. I immediately put a call. He immediately sent me his data. I immediately sent that data to my realtor. What we have seen is a decrease in the real estate prices. I mean, certainly if you look at the assessments, we've seen about a 6% decrease overall in the assessed value of the town. Okay, so now some people say, well, that's just the general decline in the real estate market. Well, not true. You're going to see some backlash because of a high tax rate. Think of it like this. The United States government prints money, okay? So when you print that dollar, that devalues the rate of that dollar. The same thing will happen on the local level. If that real estate tax rate becomes too high, it devalues that real estate. It's like a debt placed on that real estate, okay? It's a debt that you can really never pay off unless you move, okay? And some people are moving because of the high tax rate. I live on Governor's Island. I see a lot of my neighbors, my elderly neighbors, can no longer afford the taxes and they have to move, and it's very, very sad. So what they end up doing is, because they want to unload the real estate, they will sell below assessed value, and that of course causes the real estate values to decrease. One of the things that I suspect happened with Mr. Keach's study is he looked at the sales price of the real estate, of the waterfront real estate, and then he looked at the current assessed value. Well, the current assessed value is a result of that low sale. If you look at the sale price and the assessed value at the time of sale, you will see that the real estate, the waterfront real estate by and large is selling below assessed value, okay? Governor's Island was recently reassessed, and I suspect that the rest of the waterfront in Guilford will be reassessed this year. You know, we saw some homes sell, you know, had their assessments drop 20%, okay? Now in 2012, the beginning of 2012, we continue to see a drop in the real estate prices, okay? For example, we have one home on Governor's Island. I'll just give you one example, quick example. The assessed value of that home in 2010 was $1.8 million. The assessed value of that home in 2011 was $1.4 million. That house just went under contract for less than $1 million. Okay, so you saw $800,000 of real estate value vanish. Okay, so the way I look at the tax rate, it's like it's a burden on the real estate. Okay, we need that real estate. You need it to hold its value so that it can fund essential town services. That's why keeping that tax rate in check is in the community's best interest, because it holds the value of that asset that you absolutely need in order to fund the school district and the town services. So that's why my goal is to bring that tax rate down to about 15 per thousand over the next 3 years. And that was an excellent question. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Lambert. Besides trying to remove the superintendent position from the district, can you tell me any non-financial reasons you are seeking to see a seat on the school board?
Yes, and thank you for the question. As I said in my remarks, one of the issues that I really feel strongly about is accessibility and parental empowerment. And, you know, I don't have children in the school, but we have friends with children in the school, and all is not well in this town. And there's a segment of people that there are the regular means by which they could bring a complaint, but they're not especially comfortable with that. And what I would like to do is, by promoting more accessibility, more transparency, parents would be able to use different tools to look in on education in Guilford, to look in on how the district is functioning, and to look at some of the policy issues and perhaps become more involved that way. So those certainly have nothing to do with fiscal issues. They have everything to do with just openness. And it has long been my feeling in this town that the school board isn't as accessible to the people as they could very well be. I have to say the Board of Selectmen, in my opinion, does a nice job with that. They take public input on different issues, and I see no reason why the elected representatives on the school board can't provide the same sort of accessibility to their constituents. Thank you.
All right. This question is for school board candidates Kurt Weber, Sue Allen, and Doug Lambert. Several years ago, the school board put a warrant article on the ballot for all-day kindergarten. The voters of Guilford rejected the measure, regardless of cost. Regardless of cost, why do you feel it is acceptable to now incorporate it without the voters' input? Why do you feel you can have it both ways and do it by executive fiat?
So who wants to go first? The school board made a decision a couple of years ago to go with all-day kindergarten because we were presented with a proposal from the administration that we could do that at actually not a additional cost to the district, but actually saving costs. Because by going with all-day kindergarten, we were able to do it with the current personnel we had in the elementary school, and we could save money from busing, so not having to have buses at noontime for the kindergarten. So one of the considerations was cost. The other consideration is that it has been administratively proven in academic circles that full-day kindergarten significantly increases literacy and numeracy for first graders. And so we're actually, by having the full-day kindergarten, we are doing a better job of preparing the kindergartners for first grade and then for continued success throughout their time in the Guilford School District. So that was the rationale.
I think Kurt explained the position of the school board at the time, but I also want to just remind people that we did have a pilot program the year before. And what we did is we looked at introducing all-day kindergarten for a very small group of children. And the results from that pilot program really justified to the board when we made our decision that the best way to go was to go with all-day kindergarten. And again, as Kurt indicated, it was at no cost. We actually had a savings with a decrease in the transportation. The results will be reported out on a regular basis, and so far all reports are it's been a positive experience, and we're seeing the results in each of our students. So again, I stand behind the position that we did do that vote, and I think we made the right decision.
What can I say? That's just another example of how the school board does what they want. If there's a vote they agree with, like moving the SAU office down to the former library, they do it. If it's a vote they disagree with, they just do what they want. You know, there was no clamor that I was aware of in this town for all-day kindergarten, other than perhaps people that it's more convenient for their child to be at school all day. The half-day sessions, both of my children went through it. They've thus far grown up and become quite successful. If there's anything in this town that I hear from again and again from parents whose kids went through the system, if they speak about something they really liked and that really worked, it was this thing called looping. So, I mean, there's other issues out there that we could look at about education, but instead it generally, for the board, involves doing what they want, what they see as best, which certainly I'm not saying that all-day kindergarten doesn't have educational value. But this town did make a vote. The vote went a certain way, and then the board turned around down the road and did what they want. I don't think that was right. I think that if they had all these facts and everything was on their side, bring it to the people, let the people vote. I'm more than willing to trust voters in the town of Guilford. Thank you.
Next question is from Ms. Barbara. Do you live in Guilford? How much time do you spend here in the community?
Thanks for that question. I became a resident in 2008. For my business, I do travel quite a bit. I spend about 7 months a year in the town of Guilford. I still maintain, or my husband maintains, a residence in Bedford because I have one child left in the high school and we want to finish that off. If any of you had teenage daughters, you know that friends, that's the most important thing. So he maintains that residence in Bedford. And I hope to retire here in Guilford. It's a beautiful place, and that's what I do. Thank you.
This question is for Mr. Skip Murphy. What role do you think the government should have? How do you view public servants?
Well, thank you for the question. I do believe in a limited government. The government is there to do the things that we as individuals or even in small groups cannot do. And from that viewpoint, that's how I view the financing as well. I bring the perspective not only having lived here for 27 years, but as a nationally rated political blogger. I'm familiar with the political ramifications all over the country. When I talk to people around the country, including my other blogger friends, I hear a lot of different views of what government should be and what it should not be doing. And I'm glad to say that here in New Hampshire, we tend to have more of a limited government, because one of the phrases I hear over and over again that I've adopted is that the bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. We have a wonderful place here in New Hampshire where one person can make a difference. Here in this town, one person can make a difference. And that's because of the political structure. You go anywhere else in this country, and most of the folks that I talk to, be they bloggers or I have an international clientele for business, they feel just like not even a cod, not even a pebble. So when people get up to try to do something, they immediately say, here in New Hampshire, we can make this happen. Most other places, they don't even try. So as far as public servants are concerned, I believe that they do a good job. I believe that they are necessary, and they needed to be treated nicely. But at the same time, government is here for the express purposes of serving the taxpayers. And I do believe that what we're seeing at the national level, and that has been translated down to the state level, is that at some point, and in some places, the public servants have basically taken over or been put in a higher spot than the citizens. And I don't think that is right. And I hope that answers the question from whomever asked it. And if you wish to hear more, come up and see me after the meeting, and I'll be glad to specify some more.
The next question is from Mr. Lambert. What are your views on the state's Department of Education and its role on the town level? What are your views on the IDEA?
Thank you for the question. IDEA, we have to comply with the laws as they're written, and I'm in favor of compliance with the law. As far as the Department of Education, I certainly recognize their role. I recognize the legal roles that they play. But I also note that they're down in Concord. And where education happens in Guilford, happens here. And I believe in local control, and I believe that the more that we can control education at the local level, run by local people, with the wonderful people that we have hired, the professionals, that we can get it done. I'd certainly look to the state for guidance, the Department of Ed, and where I would have to comply, certainly compliance. I will say the Department of Ed did give its blessing to the 1998 plan that the Guilford School District legally and lawfully adopted with the vote. That set up an administrative structure that is somewhat different than what you see here today. So I acknowledge, again, the Individuals with Disabilities Act. It's, I don't know what else I could say with it other than there it is, and we comply with it, and it's useful and a necessary thing because we have to provide access for all people, all citizens in this country to all places. Thank you.
This question is from Miss Barbara Eichinger. How would you approach the annual requests from the outside agencies requesting funding by audit?
Thank you for that question. Okay, so this is where on the ballot the outside agencies ask for funding. Okay, these are, in my opinion, charitable, not-for-profit companies or organizations. Okay, my position is that I would not recommend those because I feel strongly that, you know, we should not be forcing our neighbors to give to the charity of our choice. Okay, so we would, you know, I give to charities, my neighbors give to charities, and I don't think it's correct that these organizations take their charitable contributions through, you know, force, and that's by taxation. So I would, as a member of the Budget Committee, if those would come before me, I would not recommend them, but I would personally probably make a donation to them, and I have in the past. Thank you.
Croc TV.